Hey everyone, Michael Martin from Yahoo Esports here, and I've got Ketchup and Mustard, as you know from Mortal Kombat X fame. We're at EVO 2016. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. It's great to finally be here. I mean, we've been here multiple times now. It gets bigger and better every single year. This event and venue is massive, and it's getting better. Getting bigger.
It is. As you can see, this crowd is massive behind us. How about you? What thoughts on the event so far?
Well, I mean, it's EVO, you know? Like, it's the biggest there is. Nothing really even comes close to comparing, and this year's no exception, you know? Well, obviously, we're here for MK, but been watching a load of Street Fighter, been watching a load of KI. I was looking forward to catching some of that, and it just hasn't disappointed.
There's been a lot of great storylines, I think, in Mortal Kombat X over the past year or so. A lot of different things have happened, of course, characters, gameplay changes, things like that, ESL, Pro League finals. Talk to me about what you've kind of seen coming up maybe within the last few months leading up into EVO and how things are playing out so far.
The thing about Mortal Kombat now is that basically we've reached a point where the top players, the most dominant players, are being cemented, right? So we've got Sonic Fox, Scar, Dragon, and Foxy, pretty much the four biggest players out there right now. They've all made it out of their pools and winners. They're all doing really well in this tournament, and they have done for majors around the world since basically the launch of KP2 or even the start of 2016. So it's a very exciting thing here because basically at EVO 2016, every player that could take on those guys is here today. So if there is going to be an upset, if someone is going to just turn up and take out all of these best players, this is the only tournament that can actually happen.
Thoughts?
Well, I mean, obviously, a big thing is, it's scene versus scene. I guess that's a lot of general FGC rivalries, right?
Sure.
East versus West, EU versus US, all that sort of stuff. But as usual, Foxy Grandpa's here. He's sort of been up and down the last couple of months. Second place at Season Finals for Season 3 of ESL. CEO, he lost to Scar, who he beat at Season 3 Finals. So I like how our best players are beating each other consistently, apart from Sonic Fox, who seems to be not unbeatable, but very difficult to defeat in a serious tournament setting. So right now, the big one is he going to 2P? Is he going to win back-to-back EVOs? He's won 3 Season Finals, but is he going to do it at EVO twice? And I think especially it's 2 out of 3, which has caught a lot of people off guard, but the best are still, getting the results and they're still performing. So I think it's going to be a question of the big overarching question of, is Fox going to 2P? And maybe not.
You mentioned the 2 out of 3 thing. Last EVO was the last time Mortal Kombat X was 2 out of 3 in tournaments. As most of you probably know, it went to 3 out of 5. But talk a little bit more about that, how it affects, the meta, how it affects the players, the competition overall.
Well, I think it's mainly about adapting and conditioning. Because MKX, especially from then to now, has developed into an incredibly aggressive rush-down heavy game. And 3 out of 5 caters to that a little bit better because you get that extra game to adapt. And some of the most memorable sets in Mortal Kombat X come from people being 2-0 down that make that 3-game comeback. It's happened, on the back foot to Scar twice. Sonic Fox did it to him at CEO, and Dragon did it to him at the season finals. But vice versa, it's always happened again. So not having the extra game, I'm not going to say it's going to give incorrect results because the best will still win. That's not an excuse and it shouldn't be. But I think it's really gonna, you're gonna have to be paying attention from start to finish because if you lose that one game, that could literally be your EVO experience over.
Do you like the idea of going from 2 out of 3 to 3 out of 5 and back, or how do you feel about that?
I personally much prefer 3 out of 5 purely because I think it gives a bit more variety to the game in the sense that when it was 2 out of 3, we saw a lot more hard-on character loyalty, right? Where if you're losing a 2 out of 3 and you lose one game, can you truly tell that that game was because of the character or because of the matchup? If it's 3 out of 5 and you've been stomped 2 games, it's a much clearer indication that the matchup isn't working out and maybe it's worth picking up another character or having a team of characters. We went last year having people using one solid character and just the variations, to people now having teams of characters so they never have to pick themselves into a bad matchup. It's much harder to tell that if it's not 3 out of 5 because you don't have as much leeway to judge what's going on.
That's something I found very interesting about the competitive scene in MKX recently is, there's no sort of character loyalty. I mean, players have, some players have a deep pocket full of characters. What makes a competitor good? How is it that they're able to do that and compete at a high level?
For me, it's no mystery that NetherRealm games are quite subject to changes and patches, and sometimes quite substantial patches that change characters quite drastically. So the best players, the most successful players right now are the ones that take the game for what it is and understand if something changes to basically suck it up and learn someone else if they don't like changes. So it's basically that the biggest players right now Foxy played Kung Lao, right? The longest time, achieved great success with Kung Lao. Fits him to a T, yes. Kung Lao was nerfed to a degree Foxy didn't really agree with and went, well, I'd still like to win, so I'm just going to play someone else that fits my style, hence piercing Melina. Sonic Fox mained Aaron Black, realized that some of the changes to Aaron Black didn't fit the way he wanted to play, wasn't quite complete, so he picked up Kitana, and then over the course of time plays a whole team of characters. It's the same for everyone else, you know, even Scar learning Smoke felt like there were some matchups where, even with Sonya being as good as she was, he went, I'm going to learn another character because Smoke's now decent, you know, MKXL releasing Smoke, he understands that character fits the criteria that he needs, and it's just players that can take the game for what it is and make adjustments when necessary and just let it rock.
All right, big weekend. I'm going to put you on the spot. Top 3, go.
I think Sonic Fox is going to minimum top 3. Foxy I'm going to put there just for A, safety, and B, you know, obviously he's been very successful at the moment, and Melina is good for 2 out of 3. But I actually think like the 3rd place is going to be a surprise pick. It'll be a first-time top 8 placer with a character we don't see, because I feel like the game is ready for that. And if there's one thing that's good about Evo for NRS games, it's if there is one tournament that the entire scene is going to try and go to worldwide, if they're traveling for it, if they're from America and they're local, it's always Evo. Like Evo is always a big deal for MK guys. And we always see something like that. And this might be, you know, following suit. So it's going to be Sonic Fox and Foxy, I do believe are going to be up there. But I think the mystery 3rd is going to be someone we haven't seen in top 8 before with a character we never see in top 8.
What about you? What's your top 3?
It's really hard because every strongest player on the planet is here, right? 2 out of 3 going into top 8 leads a huge opportunity for upsets. So as Mustard said, I personally do think that we will see some surprise picks, but the top 8 is 3 out of 5. So I definitely think, again, Sonic Fox and Foxy have the highest chance of being in the top 3 because of just pure consistency. Obviously Scar and Dragon have a high chance, but top 3 I would personally say Sonic Fox, Foxy, and I'm going to be boring. I think it could even be Sonic Fox, Foxy, and Scar. I mean, the results don't lie over the course of the year. It follows suit, you know? These guys have been so successful, and they always get top 3. Who's to stop that from happening here?
Exactly. Last question for you, and I'm going to get both your takes on this. Injustice 2 was revealed. We've seen a history of NetherRealm putting out a game. A couple years later, a different game comes out, and the community, for whatever reason, things just kind of die off competitively with that game. I know that their hope is that doesn't happen with Mortal Kombat X, but do you have any thoughts on Mortal Kombat X's longevity with Injustice 2 on Horizon?
I think it's 100% down to if NetherRealm continue to support the game and if the community continue to support the game. Because we've been part of the competitive NRS community since it started back in 2011 with MK9. And we have seen, like, it's exactly as you described it. You know, it's a game will come out, people will love it, play it for 2 years, new game will come out, older one will die off. And that doesn't happen because people just like lose love for the game, they just stop playing it. And through the entire life of the next game, the community will say to each other, we still love it, we still really like the game, we just don't play it anymore. So it really is mainly up to the community to stop doing that, you know? Like, especially if NetherRealm continue to update, you know, with patches or, you know, fingers crossed, new content, who knows? But even if that doesn't happen, you know, Melee hasn't had an update for, what, 12 years? However long it's been, minimum. And that's still being played, you know, here, main stage. So I would love the games to coexist. I think they are different enough, and the communities for the games are different enough that is definitely something that can happen. It's just up to the community for the game to make it happen. Sure.
Will it stay alive?
I pretty much almost exactly the same as what Mustard said. If Injustice 2 gets big financial support like MKX did, the thing is, I think there was always a little bit of stigma behind NetherRealm games for the general community of, the game might not get support for it, might get support for a few months and it will just drop off and that. A lot of people thought that of Mortal Kombat X, and there's a reason Sonic Fox is the highest grossing fighting game player in a year. You know, like he has earned so much money because there was so much financial support for the game, and it has allowed players to literally make a living off playing these games. And MKX was the start of that. If Injustice 2 were to follow suit, the community would obviously play that. It's just, I think for me, it comes down to how many of the players are going to play for money and how many are going to be like, I want to play just to play the game, you know? Like, everyone plays, we're all around, and we played MK9 when there was very little financial support. Injustice didn't really have a huge amount of financial support either, and we're all still around, and we're all still here playing MKX. So the games, I definitely think, can exist together. They are different enough that they can exist together, and they're good enough that they can exist together. It just comes down to how much substantial support Injustice 2 gets that might make people go, I have to focus on this one game. The same way Street Fighter players, there are a lot of players that played other games and dropped their main game just to focus on Street Fighter 5, you know, because of Capcom Pro Tour and those big tournaments that way. I kind of feel like that's almost the same thing for Injustice 2.
Awesome. Ketchup, Mustard, thank you guys very much. I'm Michael Martin, and this is Yahoo Esports.